Okay, so it starts out in TSL 3. Once upon a time, there was something called the Team Liquid Star League.
Number 3.
Number 3. And CrunCher and IdrA met up. Now, CrunCher was a player that sat in his base forever, got the best army composition, moved out, and killed IdrA.
Yes.
IdrA was a player that raged a lot. IdrA is a player that rages a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, in-game.
In-game.
Yes.
Yes, he's a Superman or Bear out of game. So, CrunCher defeats IdrA.
With a smiley face.
With a smiley face. Banter between them ensues inside of the chat. They go meet up at MLG. What happened?
IdrA doesn't shake CrunCher's hand, even though JP does a huge welcome, and there's boos on stage for CrunCher. As people were very, very in favor of CrunCher. So, a lot of rivalry between the two players.
And since then, I don't think they've really played that much.
No, in fact,
CrunCher went inactive.
Yeah. We're pulling up the numbers
But still, this is awesome because a lot of tension between these two. Evil Genius, IdrA, a.k.a. Greg Fields, and CrunCher, a.k.a. Abdul Aziz Abid.
Very impressive, man. You didn't even read off the script.
No, I didn't.
Let's introduce our players here in the bottom left. We have none other than Evil Genius's Greg Fields, IdrA. Not IdrA, IdrA.
IdrA. Top right-hand corner, we have the Forge fast-expanding Protoss. It is none other than CrunCher.
From Team Incredible Panic. It's a Russian team,
yes,
for those of you who don't know. Now, CrunCher and IdrA have 11 games played in history. IdrA has won 7 of them. CrunCher's only won 4. But IdrA, you know, we've been talking a lot about ZVP recently. And I'm really excited to see if you can really break out of that mindset of having someone who has that mental advantage just because of, you know, he expects him to cheese or expects him to do that old school of turtle-style Protoss. But actually, Andre, do you have any predictions for this match before we go in?
I think IdrA is going to win this 2-0. Okay. And it's because, well, you said it yourself, CrunCher has been doing all-ins. 2 base all
ladder, at least on ladder. I've been match history scouting.
And I have to assume that CrunCher is used to doing stuff like that. I mean, when you have a lot of historical data so soon before your actual match date, you're probably geared up to do some sort of 2 base all in. Yes. If IdrA did his homework, he should be able to see that and say, okay, defend against 2 base all ins. That's a pretty easy thing to do when you know your opponent is doing it. The problem is when you don't know if your opponent is 2 base all inning, you think they are and they're not. They macro and then you're like, oh crap, I'm so far behind in my tech.
Well, IdrA is delaying gas, so he doesn't have that tech as you were mentioning. He does have an Overlord, seeing almost everything. He sees a Forge and pretty much everything to be expected. Now this is Antiga Shipyard, an interesting map choice.
I didn't get to ask you. What are your predictions?
Oh, that's right.
Of
My
IdrA
predictions.
versus CrunCher?
You know, I'm going to say that IdrA wins, but I think CrunCher is capable of taking a game just because he can be kind of sneaky with some of his timings. And you never know. I mean, turtle-style Protoss, we've seen it have some success over NASL the past couple of days. And I feel like if IdrA isn't careful with his army, maybe CrunCher gets a nice vortex, maybe IdrA loses his entire army and then kind of gets out of control. You know, I'm not going to rule out that possibility.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to this first game, and I'll tell you why.
Yes.
IdrA is a player that I already said tends to rage a little bit. If he loses here, I guarantee you he'll be on tilt. I guarantee you. Yeah. We've seen that in the show match that he did against Alive.
You casted that,
where
man.
He lost the first 2 games and then 6-pulled 2 games after that. He tilted. And I feel if CrunCher gets the better end of the stick this time around, somehow is able to beat his opponent, then IdrA will rage out and probably not play as well as he could.
All right, well, we'll see. I mean, we're done with predictions here, and we'll see how they execute. CrunCher getting +1 here with his first 100 gas.
Yep.
And so that means he is going to go for a timing. Now, you've been asking, or you might ask, no, Frodan, what kind of 2-base timings CrunCher's been doing on ladder? He's actually been doing a lot of gateway timings. He's been going up to 7, maybe even 8 gates, and pressuring a lot with Zealot Sentry Stalker. And so maybe CrunCher, I mean, he's hiding a probe in the bottom center of the map, trying to elude IdrA's vision, and he's successfully doing it so far.
Well, he actually saw it for a split second.
Ooh, is he going to find it? Oh, he's going to put in the boot. Oh, man.
Oh, baby.
Is IdrA going to find it? Oh.
So close, yes!
Oh, he finds it, and CrunCher not able to elude IdrA's vision, a very, very important discovery from IdrA.
Yeah, this is one of the most common places to actually put pylons up here. It's very safe. Of course, the access to that natural is very easy. It's open. So it's good that IdrA's actually scouting that out. A little bit too predictable, I think, coming out from CrunCher. But +1 is just about to finish, and we just now have the gateways coming up. So it might be a +1/1 timing?
Well, he's going for robotics, so he's actually going for more passive opening. I think he realized he couldn't get the pylon down, so he's probably transitioning out of it. It's really hard to say because I think CrunCher maybe feels unsafe trying to just move out to the middle of the map, but he is moving out with one Zealot, try to see if he can get IdrA off that watchtower. IdrA, of course, starting speed after his layer start, and he's putting it at the 3rd. Very interesting. Yeah.
Now he is pretty nicely saturated on his 3rd. His natural and his main is actually undersaturated. Unfortunate for him. He could get probably good 300 more minerals, at least, I think. If I did the math right. 320 more minerals.
Oh, IdrA does scout, though, with the Overlord. And he sees the robotics. He doesn't see anything coming out. CrunCher's actually getting a War Prism. Oh, the way he's setting up for is a War Prism gateway timing. And, you know, IdrA, is he going to be prepared for this? Now, he is making some roaches. Man. And the Zerglings do catch the proxy pylon attempt also from CrunCher.
But it's 8 gateways.
Yeah.
And it's a sentry block here. That's what he's going for, this sentry block. And then you just warp in a crap load of units.
Okay, IdrA, are you going to be ready? Oh, the Zergling does see the War Prism. Very, very key there from IdrA. And, of course, he's in full unit production. He's got 61 drones. He's got the amount of drones he needs. Now, CrunCher, can he get the position he wants? He's loading up 4 sentries, and he's got 8 gateways.
Ooh, this will be big. Can he get the sentries over here? And units dropped. He needs that queen. Focus down on that one War Prism. There it is.
And he's going to drop the sentry. He's going to force field the rep. He does.
He
and
missed.
He puts it.
He missed.
Oh, he did miss. And it looks like IdrA's going to be able to get this around. And the Stalker's warping in. The queen is targeting down the War Prism.
He needs to get the queen.
And
he needs to get the queen. Oh, man. He loses all the units inside of there. CrunCher gets humiliated right there.
Yikes. CrunCher, he had an opportunity. But again, the War Prism going down was very big. Now IdrA's so far ahead. 120 to 54. CrunCher's been banking everything, and he's forced to kind of throw down another robotics Twilight Council, forced to spend everything back at home with no real units to defend.
That's a huge sigh of relief for IdrA. He knows he's in a comfortable advantage, and now all it takes from here is to drone up a little bit, start messing up in units, get all the essential tech upgrades, which are, of course, Glory Constitution, your +1, probably even Burrow, Tunneling Claw, maybe even Ventral Sacs and Pneumatized Carapace, and then go for the attack. Just put a lot of pressure on your opponent and never let them take a 3rd base.
Yes, and it all had to do with the fact that IdrA was prepared with his Zerglings, very active with his scout. Great job there. And, you know, CrunCher, he's going for double box, but double Immortals. This is...
oh, man. CrunCher is such a freaking... Yo, he's a champ, man. I don't care what anybody says. This guy is the biggest champ in the world. Now, he's reading his opponent saying, okay, he's probably going to go mass up in roaches. IdrA is a player that tends to... Well, he just saw everything that went down.
Yeah.
But he is a player that tends to say, get out of my game. I stop trying. He does do that sometimes. And if he goes just mass roaches and just, you know, goes forward, waits for his opponent to get maybe 5 Immortals, that's actually like the hardest thing to stop, or actually the hardest thing to kill when you are roach against Immortals. I mean, Sentry Immortal is a wonderland against non-burrow, non-tunneling claw roaches.
Yeah. IdrA does see the attempt for CrunCher to move out for a 3rd base. That is going to signal IdrA to start moving, because denying that 3rd base is pretty much the timing Zerg can go for. IdrA is at 170 supply at 12 minutes, so pretty good. But of course, the idea is that he has an overwhelming unit advantage. I mean, +1 will finish, so that's a nice little touch. But at the same time, he just has so many roaches. 10 Hydras are also on the way.
You'll see. It looks like CrunCher's going to push out here just to check out what's going on. He does go into a ton of roaches, but he wasn't able to see all of it because of the smoke screen that was over there. Hydralisks are on the way out, and I think he'll just mass up in a couple of Hydras here and then do some amazing damage.
CrunCher actually withdrew from the 3rd attempt, and he's getting another War Prism.
I like that.
Yeah, I think he realized he couldn't defend it.
He's going for like the timing, trying to fake out the 3rd and then go from here. Ooh, IdrA being caught a lot of roaches going down here, and no burrow. Doesn't even matter.
That was 30 supply.
Right
Yeah, so good job there by CrunCher.
And this is
He's
exactly
do
what I
about
was
3
talking
more
about.
times,
The
though.
5 immortal timing, man. It's not really a timing, but 5 immortals.
If it is,
that
man, it
gives
will be a
you
timing.
like just enough DPS to really smash any roach composition. It really, really hurts, but Hydras complicate things quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Hydras are fantastic against gateway units, and we'll see the position, because, again, this is a pretty open area that CrunCher's engaging on. He has to be very cautious. IdrA going to cancel the hatchery, which does mean it's very wide open for the units to chase. And, you know, there's not that much force field energy actually for CrunCher, so he has to be very cautious of how he approaches the situation.
A little engagement in this top left-hand position. These roaches are able to see that the Nexus is going up here, so an engagement might go down. Ooh, IdrA needs to be careful. This is what I'm talking about. IdrA needs to be so careful in these positions. He easily lets it get to his head and say, okay, well, I have an advantage. Get out of my game. Why are you still in this? But sometimes he just doesn't play to like the maximum potential, and he does give away advantages sometimes.
He's got 30 Hydras and 18 Roaches. So he's really leaning over towards the Hydraless part of his army. Now, CrunCher is trying to transition to Colossus, seeing that many Hydras. He's got to be alarmed. He's actually going to send a pack of Roaches, and I think he also saw the War Prism. Yeah, CrunCher even calling him back, realizing IdrA will be prepared. First Colossus. Second Colossus is also in production.
This is
so
not good. This is not good. If the Colossus get out on the field, and there's enough sentries out there and enough force field to actually deal with this, there could be an unstoppable push coming out from CrunCher. I mean, IdrA does not have the unit composition to deal with Colossus with thermal range. Now, thermal range is thermal lance. Why did I just say thermal?
Well, I mean,
okay, thermal lance. Yeah.
So
thermal lance is just about 2 minutes away, and IdrA needs to put on the aggression right now. But already 2 Colossus are out.
Yeah, and IdrA is preparing for tech switch as well. He has a Spire and Hive, as well as, you know, just small things like extending his creeps. So he does have that. He's going to have to eventually move out, though. He can't stay on Roach Hydra forever. The 2 Colossus are out in the field, but again, not that many force fields out. He does have 1. IdrA retreating for just the meantime. He needs a good concave. Looks like CrunCher is pulling back for just the meantime. CrunCher still not even close to max, though. He still has about 40-50 supply, but he does have 2 more Colossus in production. If there's 4 Colossus out with no Corruptors,
oh man, IdrA cannot be happy to see this. I mean, sweet merciful. All CrunCher has to do is make sentries and stalkers and try not to engage. This is right by IdrA. This might not seem right, but it's right. He wants to slowly start exchanging his army for Corruptors. If he doesn't have Corruptors, Infestors, units like that, then he's in a terrible position. The Colossus go unscathed. And if you have 3-4 Colossus in that army composition that don't get hit until all your gateway units die, well, let me tell you, that is a win for Protoss.
We're talking about that later as the Hydras are engaging here, and it looks like we don't see that many force fields popped up. The Hydras do have a really good concave. The Colossus are out in front. They can't run back, Gretorp, and we do see the Colossus don't barely manage to run away. IdrA loses a lot of supply, but he's remaxing here on Roaches and Corruptors. CrunCher has managed to actually take the supply lead here.
And look at that. Now a 4th Colossus out in the way. Thermal Lance, a 5th Colossus, excuse me. Thermal Lance has been completed, and this advantage for CrunCher is snowballing. Yes, I said CrunCher. Look at that units lost tab. 11, almost 12,000 resources lost for IdrA. Half of that for CrunCher. So all that early game shenanigans that happened, him losing the War Prism, that's all for null. Because this is a great advantage for CrunCher. I don't know how IdrA is going to stop this. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying that after the beginning we had.
Yeah, IdrA had a pretty good advantage, shutting down the 7-8 gate War Prism attempt, and IdrA, he's moving out here with Roach and Fester. He is max. He's going to fungal a lot of the Immortals, but he has a lot of Roaches taking a lot of damage. Corruptor's not even engaging on the Colossus, and CrunCher is decimating this army as IdrA is losing a lot of supply. This is very bad news for our Zerg Blades. IdrA has left the game.
Of course, that is the interpretation. We could take that and say that's the GG. That's basically what it is. Yeah.
You know, CrunCher takes game number 1. He's been inactive for 6 months, but showing why he still has to be taken seriously.
Dude, yeah. There was a critical point where CrunCher just went all-out investment. He said, let me get double Robo, let me get just Immortals, no units, no gateway units. Man. If IdrA tried to do something right there, it was game over. IdrA didn't. He was like, oh, let me play the end game. That's the type of stuff where it's like you're just throwing it away. And engagement after engagement, it's just inefficient.
CrunCher had 50-some supply to IdrA's like 120. I think it was absolutely absurd. And IdrA not able to really capitalize on that advantage. And it's quite unfortunate, but it is a best of 3.
Yep.
And so, you know, we'll see whether or not IdrA can come back. The game was brought to you by Epson, the #1 projector brand in the world for all your home theater and audiovisual needs. Visit Epson.com. And we'll see whether or not IdrA can come back in this series. After a quick commercial break, don't go anywhere. More action from NASL Season 3, Division 4 coming up after this.
And chance.
And chance.